Good morning.
Good morning.
We'll try a third time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for this wonderful turnout, and it's a real privilege for me to be here today to chat to you about my life as a writer and one or two other things. I will start by saying England has the best cricket team in the world. And I think we'll both be in the final of the one days. So we're all looking forward to that. And I think it's one of the many reasons I love this country. It's because I've loved my cricket all my life. I was at Oxford University with the Nawab of Patodi, and I've known every captain of the Indian team since, and more recently, Sachin Tendulkar and Virat Kohli have become friends. And it's lovely because, you know, you get a thrill out of reading the books. I get a thrill out of knowing they read the books. I began life, when I left school, I wanted to be a politician. I wanted to play a role in public life. And I entered what was called the Greater London Council at the age of 26. Actually, far too young. I then entered the House of Commons at the age of 29. And I very foolishly and very stupidly invested all the money I had, and I borrowed some more, which was particularly stupid, and invested it in a company called Aquablast, and I lost everything. And I had to leave the House of Commons as a member of Parliament, and I was facing bankruptcy. And I could not get a job. And I sat down and wrote, not a penny more, not a penny less. And I did not know I was going to be a writer. I just felt that what had happened to me, the experience I had had of losing everything, might be of interest as a novel. So it came as a great shock that actually I was going to end up being a writer. Now, Proust, a very great philosopher, once said, "We all end up doing the thing we're second best at." I want all of you to think and realize that the thing you start in life doing when you leave this great school may not be the thing you end up doing. And you should not be frightened of that. You should not be frightened. I want to be a doctor. And then discover, after I have a friend who was a doctor for 15 years, and then suddenly ran an art gallery. You shouldn't be frightened in your lifetime of doing more than one thing. Because I came to writing by mistake. And if I'd remained in the House of Commons, I would never have written a book. So I wonder how many of you out there, I wonder, it's possible you'll do something you haven't even thought about. Because I came to writing by mistake. Wrote my first book, Not a Penny More, Not a Penny Less, and 14 publishers turned the book down. I tell you that so you're not frightened of failure. You're not frightened of something going wrong. 14 people turned down Not a Penny More, Not a Penny Less. The 15th publisher purchased it for £3,000, a tiny sum of money.
What's the best thing you like about our country?
I am amazed, Director, that over the years you have got where you are, teaching children that the white line in a road should go down the middle of a car. If I became Secretary of State for Transport in this country, lorries would not be allowed on the outside lane. Motorbikes would not be allowed on the outside lane. Those damn silly little green things that carry you around would not be allowed on the outside lane.
Thank you.
What I like, shush. I'll tell you when I'm ready for the next question. I tell you what I love the people. They're gentle, they're kind. Part of that amazing irresponsibility on the road is actually because you're still all kind to each other. In England, this couldn't happen. And so I admire that. I love the kindness. I love the warmth of the people. I fell in love with this country 30 years ago, and I come back again and again. But I have to admit, is it influenced by the fact that millions of you read my books? Of course it is. And can I explain that? Because other writers from all over the world say to me, Jeffrey, why did the Indians buy millions of your books and very few of mine? And I have to say to them, I don't know why, but of course I'm grateful and it's wonderful. And I will come back again and again. You may now speak.
I'm being kind. Next question is from PSG. Dear Sood.
Where are you? Down in the front? Oh, hello.
So, in your short stories like The Perfect Murder, the action usually surrounds a sole protagonist and a first-person viewpoint. Is this a personal choice, or is it something that's naturally present in your narrative style? And does it help make the short story more precise and relatable?
Very good question. See what I mean, Director, by very good questions coming from children and grown-ups being pathetic? The truth is, are you going to be a writer? Oh, obviously not. The truth is that you must write about what you know about and what you feel easy with. Don't write ghost stories because ghost stories are fashionable. Don't write violent stories because violent stories are fashionable. Write what you feel at ease with. Many people have said to me, Jeffrey, why don't you write an Indian novel? I said, because I can't. I'm not an Indian. I couldn't get under the skin. I couldn't really feel the atmosphere the way R.K. Narayan did. But R.K. Narayan couldn't write a novel about the House of Commons. So actually the truthful answer to your question is, I do what I do, and I pray the reader will enjoy it. But I'm not conscious each day when I write of having, there's no formula, there's no way. I'm not conscious of it, so I'm just do it and pray. In fact, I remember in India, many years ago, a young journalist came to see me. She was about 24. She came up to me and said, would you tell me the secret, Jeffrey, of where you get the stories? So I said, well, it's a God-given gift. I'm just lucky. No, she said, I won't tell anyone. Just tell me. No, I promise you. I said, I get up in the morning, off I go, I write once upon, it just happened. No, you don't understand. I'm not going to tell you. Oh, right, I said, got it. Okay, I get up each morning in Cambridge, and there's a river at the bottom called the Cam, and I go to the Cam, and I dig a hole, and in the hole, there are the stories. She didn't speak to me again. So that's the answer.
Mount Carmel School, Dwarka. We have Gurnika. Okay, she's there.
Together, pathetic boys. Yeah, we got the message over there, okay. Who says I don't believe in competition? Yes.
So your novels have acted as a huge influence on their audience, especially teenagers, helping shape opinions. So I wanted to ask if there are any specific novels you remember reading that impacted your opinion a lot.
I guess I read all the orthodox books when I was young. My mother was a great reader, and my mother was a writer. She'd always wanted to be a novelist. So, of course, I read Dickens. Of course, I read Dumas, George Eliot, Jane Austen. How much they influenced me? Of course they influenced me. I can't prove they did or they didn't. But the one thing I discovered was I loved great storytellers. The Count of Monte Cristo is a wonderful story. Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice is a wonderful story. Great Expectations is a wonderful story. The snobs will tell you, perhaps with the exception of Jane Austen, then they're not great writers. To hell with them. It's the storytellers who live and survive. So they influenced me in my youth. And then, of course, I read all the time. So I'm always reading new books and always willing to listen to anybody who says, you ought to read this, Jeffrey, or you ought to read that. So it's non-stop. I don't stop being educated at my old age. I'm educated every day. I see things in India, of course, the country I've been many times, but I still see things every day that I would never see in my own country. Yesterday, I was overtaken by an elephant. In Jaipur, I saw a monkey steal a banana from a trader, and then I watched him on the roof. The monkey was laughing at the trader. So I learn and see things every day, and the author must see things. The author must let them come in and capture them before he can put them on the page. Now, will that elephant or will that monkey make any of my books? Probably not. But there just may come a moment when I'm writing and I think, oh, I'll have a monkey jump off the tree, steal a banana, go up on. You can never tell. So leave your minds open to everything. Always want to learn. Always remember when you're with someone to only speak 50% of the time, and if you're with two people, 33% of the time. They may have more to tell you than you have to tell them. So be willing to learn all the time. Be willing to be influenced all the time. So yes, it never stops. Thank heavens. I'm going to tell you the name of an author that I doubt if anyone other than your director and his senior staff have ever heard of, who I didn't discover until the age of 60. 60, wow, none of you can imagine what it'll be like to be 60. You can't even think about it. 3 times your age. I'm 4 times, 5 times your age. And I discovered this author called Stefan Zweig at the age of 60. And my, did I learn from him. He is a beautiful writer and a beautiful storyteller. And his masterpiece, Beware of Pity, is worthy to be read by anyone. He sadly committed suicide because he thought Hitler was going to win the war. So we only got 2 novels. We got some short stories, but there was I at the age of 60. I've read everything he'd written in 6 weeks. That's how good. So be willing to open your mind to anything. Yes?
We have 5 more questions.
What?
5 more questions.
5 more questions? Oh, all right.
Yes?
Yes.
Amity International School, Devasya, sorry.
Where are you? Face writer's block. Never. I have a home in Mallorca in Spain where I do my writing. I have a lovely room built in a cliff which overlooks the sea, and I have named the house writer's block. But so far it has never happened. I'm not saying when I write it doesn't go in a totally different direction from that which I had planned. That is true. It can just shoot off. You want to write one thing, it goes off somewhere else. And you mustn't be frightened of that. You want to go with it, because the reader will go with it. But I've never had writer's block. Never.
Heritage, Arun Rana.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What is your take on the importance of a good book cover and title, and what role does a book cover play in defining the book?
The first was the title, and the second was the cover. Very interesting. The title can be very important indeed. Cain and Abel was originally the protagonists, and then it became the brothers. And then I was walking home one night along the embankment in London. Cain and Abel. And I knew immediately. In fact, when the Americans published it, the Brits too, but when the Americans published it, the book cover, because I was so unknown in America, the book said Cain and Abel by Jeffery Archer. And even if you look at it today, the Cain and Abel, they did a survey that showed that more people knew the title of the book than knew the author. And actually that's probably true if you think about it about many books. But so the title's very important. I spend hours thinking about titles. And trying to get the exact one is not easy. Covers. Of course the design is very important. I have a brilliant man called James who works for Macmillan in England, and he's designed every one of these. With the Clifton Chronicles, he wanted a theme, he wanted an idea. But when he went back to do the other ones, you'll see, and they change all the time because young people don't necessarily like what we liked. So if I was to show you the covers of 20 or 30 years ago, you might say, how boring. So when they bring them to me now, I have a tendency to obey James. He says, no, Jeffrey, this is what they want now. And I say, who am I to argue? Yes, covers are important. Yes, titles are important. But if the book, Great Expectations is one of the great titles of all time. Romeo and Juliet is one of the great titles of all time. But in the end, you can have a dreadful title with a dreadful cover. If the book's that good, the public will find it. But better to start off with a good title and a good cover. I knew you did. I missed it. Because they're both different challenges. I get given short stories all the time. I pick up, I'm going down to Mumbai later today to have dinner with an old friend who gave me the most amazing story. And when he told it to me, I realized it was a short story and not a novel. Sometimes when you hear a story, you might all want to tell me a story, you realize it's a short story and not a novel. His story was remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. I went to a dinner party for 10 people on a circular table. And I was sitting here next to the most stunningly beautiful girl. She's just a great Indian beauty. And on the other side of the table was her husband, a very good-looking man, who I later discovered the Maharaja and had been educated at Oxford and Harvard. And he was sitting there. And I thought, I'll tell you what I'll do, Jeffrey. I'll flirt with this lady and try and make him jealous. That would be my evening's entertainment. And at the end of the evening, he was wheeled away in a wheelchair. And I didn't realize, because I could only see from there up. And I said immediately, there has to be a short story there. There has to be. And indeed I wrote it. It's called Cast Off. And it's one of the most exciting short stories I've ever read. But it was a hell of a challenge to get it into 40 pages, because I knew it couldn't be a novel. And sometimes when you do something like As You Win, which you know is going to be very long, it's a big, sprawling story about the same man arriving in two countries, and you follow the same man and what would have happened to him in two countries. You know that's not a short story. Which do I enjoy more? Probably the novel in the end. I enjoy the challenge of a whole novel, the excitement of a whole novel. But both are a challenge. And of course, there aren't a lot of writers who bother with short stories now. All I'd say to those of you who put your hands up who want to be writers, start with short stories, because I didn't start writing until I was 35 years old. So there's no hurry. Start with short stories. Why is she getting applause? Is she very special?
Sir, your books are highly read and celebrated. So as an author, how would you define success?
As an author, in its cruelest form, how many people read you? If nobody reads you, you're not a success. I have 320 million readers worldwide. I no longer give a damn, just to let you know, those of you who want to end up in Bollywood, or you want to end up celebrities, waste of time. I no longer do anything for money. That's not of any interest to me at all. I would not be here standing speaking to this school. Partly because you hadn't offered me any money, and partly because you can't afford it. So, what? You can't afford it? So that doesn't interest me any longer. I'm interested in being read. I want to get to as many people I can and be read. But success, as I said earlier, takes two different forms. I told you about my wife. She's unpaid at the Science Museum, and it's considered to be one of the great jobs in England. She was virtually unpaid as chairman of the hospital. So the definition of success is a strange thing. And if you're the best at what you do, that's what you should aim to be. And to hell with the consequences, because, dare I say in front of you, I see in your teachers such happiness in being able to teach you, dreadful lot. What a privilege to teach the next generation. What a privilege to see one of you become a great writer, one of you become a great sculptor, one of you become a great politician, one of you become a great doctor, one of you become a great lawyer. And then watch the next generation, watch their children. But that's reward in itself. And it's an amazing reward. I saw the face of the man who operated on me. And I was able to go back to him and say, I've written 7 books since you saved my life. That was a reward for both of us. So, reward for me is how many people worldwide read me. And I pray they love the books. I want to leave you with a saying. If you remember nothing of the speech, if you forget me within 10 minutes of me leaving, I want you to remember this for the rest of your life. so concentrate. These are the words of a great poet, a great American poet called Longfellow. He said, "It's only 4 lines, so concentrate. If you can't write it down, look it up and remember it for the rest of your life." He said, "The heights that great men reached and kept were not attained by sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, strove ever upward through the night." Strive. Thank you. It's you.
So thank you so much today for your inspiring presence and anecdotes here. You have been truly inspiring for a whole lot of us here, and I am sure we have found many, many new young readers and writers. Your trademark sense of humor, your iconic characters, your tales with the twists and turns have truly encouraged us, and I am sure that we won't forget this talk anytime soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And let me end by saying, I've had a privilege, a wonderful career. How many men or women on earth could command an audience like this at the end of their lives? You may forget me. I will never forget you.